Okay, so as always, we as a group are unbelievably appreciative of every single person, every woman who comes on here that shares their beautiful Torah with us, shares their time with us, and and enhances us and teaches us and gives to us. So Rebbetzin Rivky Garfunkel is her and her husband, who is the rabbi. They run the Forest Hill Jewish Center, an Or Sameach Kiruv Shul in a neighborhood in Toronto called Forest Hill. Rivky is a proud mummy, a bubby, and a Kala teacher. And I feel so honored and grateful that she came on to teach us today. So thank you, Rivky. I'm going to go off and you have the floor. Go ahead.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Um, what can I say? First of all, I'm really sorry that I missed your davening. I'm blown away by you know me. We've never met each other, but I know your relatives well. Um, Actually, your niece, Adele, is almost like one of my daughters. We joke her parents call her Adele Karfunkel. But my daughter's actually sleeping over there right now. So anyway, you have a beautiful family, and I'm completely blown away by this initiative of yours. I understand you get together every day, everybody, to daven, and you have to find speakers, and that's such a big responsibility, and it's just unbelievable. I don't see any of you, so I don't know who I'm even speaking to, but at least I'll see you know me. Okay. Ah, thank you for putting your, oh wow. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Thank you. Hi. Hi, hi, hi. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Okay. Um, my name is Rivky Karfunkel. I live in Toronto. My husband and I, like Nomi just said, we have the privilege of running an Or Sameach Kiruv Shul. It's like an outreach shul. It's a big, beautiful building. It was designed after a shul that was actually destroyed in the Holocaust in Jaslau, Poland. If anyone heard of the city of Jaslau. And Baruch Hashem, I'm a mother primarily, which is why I came on at the last minute. And Nomi, I'm sorry if I gave you heart failure when it was 9 o'clock and I was not yet on, but I had to settle my girls and Baruch Hashem, they're upstairs settled, and it's really an honor. It's an honor to be here this morning with all of you. So Nomi asked me, give me a title. I'm terrible with titles. Some people just have a knack for coming up with something catchy and cute, and I thought I have no clue. But she said, "What are you comfortable speaking about?" So I guess a topic that's very close to my heart is the topic that I said, okay, why don't we just speak about loving every Jew? Loving every Jew. It's a mitzvah. And it's something that I think that now we've all become very hyper aware of the fact that we actually do love each other. We actually do. As soon as October 7th happened, everywhere in the world, every Jew felt so strongly, intimately, that something terrible happened to us. It wasn't something terrible happened there. Something happened to them, to Yenim, to the next person. Something terrible happened to us, to me. I don't have a single close relative in the sense that, I can't even say Baruch Hashem, it wasn't any of my close relatives because it feels like they were my close relatives. Does everybody understand? I think we all felt that way. None of them are my first or even second or even third cousins. I didn't recognize any of their names. I don't know them personally, but I felt like it was a personal tragedy, like it's something that happened to me. And we all felt that way. We all felt that way and continue to feel that way. You hear from people, I kept hearing from people afterwards who were so disappointed with their non-Jewish counterparts, their non-Jewish coworkers who were just silent. They didn't say anything. Nobody acknowledged that this happened to me. And I thought to myself, well, maybe I'm just naive. Maybe I like to think good about people. I don't know. but they don't get it. They don't get it. How could they possibly get it? My non-Jewish neighbors, they don't understand that when something happened in Israel, which is on the other side of the world, that it personally affects me. They don't get that. How should they know? But we know it because we feel it. And we felt so acutely that this was a trauma. It was a tragedy that shook us to the core, that happened to us as if it was our super close relatives, even if they weren't. And I think maybe, I don't think it was the first time we felt that, and it's unfortunate that it has to be a terrible tragedy that brings that out in us. But it has become so clear that we love each other. We do. We feel for each other. It doesn't matter if there's a Jewish person on the other side of the world and I don't know who they are and I don't know their name. Recently we had it's such an unbelievable zechus, I have to say, such a merit to be in the position that I'm in. So my husband and I are in this kiruv shul, and we get to meet people who are just discovering their Yiddishkeit, or they're learning, they're growing. Just this Shabbos, um, I like to position myself at the base of the stairs. We have this beautiful, and I don't know if anyone here is from Toronto, anyone that's listening to this. If you are from Toronto and you have not yet visited the Forest Hill Jewish Center, you must come. We're right here in your city. If you're not from Toronto, I highly, highly suggest coming to visit. I'm telling you, it's worth coming to Toronto just to see our shul. And I take no personal credit. It's a nace. Every little brick, every corner of that building is miraculous. And we have this beautiful, grand staircase, a 3-story or 4-story circular staircase that goes right from the basement all the way up to the 4th floor. And you could even go down to the basement and look up, and it's this really cool view. And I like to position myself at the base of the staircase in the basement. After shul, we have a kiddush. Everybody comes down to the basement for kiddush. And I've found that if I go into the kiddush, I get stuck in the kiddush. I get stuck talking to a couple of people, and then there's so many people that I don't get to see. And I really, really just want to see everybody in shul. So if I stand right at the base of the staircase as people are leaving, I get to see everybody, and it's amazing. So I'm at my post, and down the stairs come these 2 strapping, tall, good-looking young men. One of them I know well. He's actually a doctor. He's a father, a beautiful neshama, and he's coming down the stairs with another young man who they almost look like they could be brothers. And I thought for sure they're friends. And the one that I knew introduced me to the other, and they have the same first name. And I said, "Oh, how do you know each other?" And Ben, they're both Bens. And Ben, who I know, said to me, "Oh, we just met upstairs. This is Ben." And I said, "Oh, Ben, is it your first time here?" And this young man, Ben, explains to me that he doesn't live far from our shul, but he lost his mother about 7 months ago. And he really doesn't know anything about Judaism. And he just feels this really strong desire to say Kaddish for his mother. He doesn't even know, he can hardly read Hebrew. His bar mitzvah was a long time ago, but he decided that he is going to work at saying Kaddish for his mother. And he found a siddur, a transliterated siddur, and he reads from the transliterated, part in English and looks on the Hebrew, and he's struggling through it. And he just decided he has to start coming to shul. It's it's such an amazing privilege to be able to interact with these kinds of people who are just awakening. Their Judaism is awakening, and they're excited, and they're fresh to, and wanting to learn and grow. It's such a privilege. So a bunch of months ago, probably a couple of years ago now, actually, I got a call from a girl in Detroit, and I think her in-laws live in Toronto. And she said to me, she said, "I need to ask you a favor. I know you're in a kiruv shul, so maybe you'll be open to this kind of thing." Really, by the way, I think had she asked anybody, any one of you, anyone would have done this. What was the favor? She said, "My son went to shul on Thursday night, and there, sitting in shul in the corner, he sees a young man who didn't look familiar to him. So my son went over and introduced himself to this young man. And it seemed that he's not really so religious, this boy, but he's kind of growing and he's learning and he's interested. And what's he doing in Detroit? He's from somewhere in California, I think, but he came to Detroit because he's following a very popular band. Has anyone here heard of the band called Fish? By raise of hands. Yeah, Fish. Okay. Anyhow, um, okay, I heard a laugh, so I guess somebody heard about Fish. Okay, so he's a big Fish head.
Rivky, you're on mute. Unmute yourself.
Sorry about that. I don't know how that happened. Thank you very much, Nomi. He follows this band all over wherever they go. I guess I don't know if they're just in North America or all over the world. And he happened to be in Detroit because Fish was in Detroit. But he was, starting to become curious about his Judaism. And so he was going to shul, sort of, and he found this shul. And this boy said, "Oh, come home. You'll come home and do you have a place to eat for dinner tonight?" I guess it was Friday. Or do you have a place for Shabbos? Maybe it was Thursday. I don't remember exactly the details. Anyhow, this boy brought this stranger home from shul. And he had a beautiful meal at these people in Detroit, people who he never met. And they said to him, "Where are you going next?" They were just making conversation. And he said, "Oh, the band that I'm following, their next stop is Toronto." And so this woman from Detroit said, "Oh, well, I know people in Toronto. If you're going to Toronto, we'll set you up for Shabbos." And he said, "What do you mean?" Like, what do you, I'll go into a hotel. I'll stay downtown. I'll take care of myself. What do you mean? She said, "No, no, no. I'm sure people will have you for Shabbos." And he said, "Strangers? Like people I don't know are just going to have me for Shabbos?" And she said, "Of course." So she called me and she tells me the story. "Would you have this boy for Shabbos?" I said, "Of course I would have him for Shabbos. Who would turn that down, right? What an opportunity. This young man, he's traveling to Toronto. He's starting to learn about his Judaism. He came to our house, such a tahor, like such a pure, beautiful soul. We had such a beautiful Shabbos together. It turned out that he was interested in going to Shar Yashiv in Far Rockaway. My sister lives in Far Rockaway. I was able to connect him to my sister. He also met my brother. So he knows the whole family, and he is really growing and coming closer to his Yiddishkeit. So, we know instinctively, it's like for him, he was just getting his feet wet. So he didn't understand that really we're all one family. We're all one community. If we hear about somebody that needs help, and this is something that we have seen, it's, with all of the tragedy and with all of the sorrow and the heartbreak, and may we know more of it. Please, Hashem, all of the hostages should be released. And we daven every single day that any families who have been really directly affected, they should have a refuah, they should have a complete recovery, they should recover from the psychological stress and trauma, and they should recover physically, anybody who is ill. And the hostages should somehow be released and they should be safe. And we daven for that every single day. From all of the tragedy, the beauty that we have seen is just our community coming together in such an unbelievable way, such an unbelievable way. I live in a neighborhood that's primarily not frum, and it's like nobody knew what to do with themselves. Everybody feels the need to do something. As soon as one girl in my neighborhood heard about a way that she could get things to Israel, and she put out a little message, these organizations are collecting these things, and I figured out a plane that can get it there, and drop off whatever you can. And I called her. I said, "Tiffany, do you need help?" She said, "No, I don't know. I went out, I got a couple duffel bags. Nobody really dropped anything off yet. I don't know what it's going to be like." By the next day, she had literally hundreds of bags of stuff. People had mobilized themselves in no time. They took their kids shopping. They were dropping bags. She didn't know what to do with herself. She was not expecting this. She put out a message, "Anybody that can come help me, please come." Women dropped everything, came to her house, spent morning till night sorting through all of these things, repackaging them. Everything had to be documented for security and border control and everything, and sorted for whichever organization it was earmarked for. Nobody was able to do enough. It was like everyone, and that's the way it's been. We've come together in such an unbelievable way, and it just is so clear that we actually do love each other. We actually do feel like we're all part of this amazing, amazing family. I've heard recently people saying like, even, Mir Hashem, after this is all done, let's keep this up. Let's keep it up. We know that it's achdus, it's togetherness when we come together and we're there for each other. We know that that's what Hashem wants. It's no secret. Just like every parent, I remember when I was little, I have a sister who's 2 years younger than me. Her name is Mordechai. She actually became very famous over COVID. Naomi, if you want anyone to speak about like education and like how to deal with kids, she's like unbelievable, unbelievable. Mordechai Shapiro. She lives in Far Rockaway. And now I just lost my train of thought. Why was I saying that? Naomi, please unmute yourself and tell me why was I talking about my sister?
You were saying that after all this happens, we should stick together.
Yes.
That we should continue this.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
And that a parent loves when they see their children get along.
Thank you. Right. Our children. Okay. So my sister, thank you very much. I was horrible to her. Okay. I like eschatai. I mean, I'm admitting my sins. I was a really bad older sister. I think, sibling rivalry is a very normal thing, and it was no different in my house growing up. She was 2 years younger than me, and I found her annoying, and, she wanted to dress like me and be like me, and I just wanted her out of my face. And I was not a very nice sister, and we would bicker all the time. And I remember my mother it would upset her so much. And we never fought physically. So it was like, I didn't understand, like, why does it bother you so much? And now, Baruch Hashem, when I have my own children and I see how they fight, it's heartbreaking. It's like you just want your kids to get along. I think one of the biggest, the most impactful lessons that I remember as a child, it was dinner time, and we were sitting around the table, and my sister and I, as per usual, were bickering. We were I don't remember what we were saying to each other, back and forth and back and forth. And my father, who was a tzaddik, was sitting at the table, and he said, "Girls, stop bickering." And we probably looked at him, and then we just continued. And he asked us again, "Please stop fighting." And back and forth and back and forth. And finally, my father stood up and he said, "I can't be at this table anymore." And he left the table and he went upstairs. And that was like a knife in my heart. We made our father leave the table. It's almost, if we could, kavayachol, that's almost how it happens, right? Hashem never leaves us. We know our father didn't leave us. He didn't disappear. Kadosh Baruch Hu never leaves us. We're his children, and he loves us, and he just wants us to do good. He wants us to be good. He wants us to be good to each other, just like every parent wants their children. Just be kind to your sibling. Just be nice. I can't tell you how many times a day this I got from Sarah Chana Radcliffe. Also, another shout out to an amazing Torontonian, great speaker, Naomi, add her to your list. Sarah Chana Radcliffe, she always says, when you want your children to act in a certain way, instead of telling them don't do something, tell them what you want them to do. So I can't tell you how many times I'll say to my kids, just be nice. Just be nice to each other. We even have a song. Just be nice to each other. Just be nice. I'll sing that to them, right? When they're just at each other's throats. Hashem just wants us to be nice to each other. Just love each other. And maybe that's what happens when we just can't get along. Hashem is like, just like my father said, I can't be at this table. I'm leaving. I have to leave. And he left. His physical presence left. Hashem never leaves us, but sometimes it feels like he does, right? This notion, this idea of Hester Panim, when Hashem kind of hides his face, he hides his face toward us, and he doesn't let us see that he's there. And sometimes we feel like there's so much darkness, and Hashem is just not here. He's always here. He's always here. But sometimes there's this time of Hester Panim when Hashem hides his face. And we're told over and over again that the secret to Ha'aras Panim, we want to see Hashem's face. We want that clarity. We want those aha moments, like to know, Hashem is actually here. We see them, There have been so many beautiful miracles that we keep reading about and hearing about, where it's like, oh, okay, Hashem, you're here. Did you see that soldier who had a bullet through his neck? Did everybody see that? That was crazy. I don't remember where I saw this, but a soldier who was shot literally through the neck. And you can see he has a patch on one side here and a patch on another side there. The bullet went right through his neck and he is completely fine. Completely fine. It's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling, right? In a second, his life could have been gone and he's completely fine. We see moments, there are glimmers where we know that Hashem is here. Despite all of the pain, despite all of the hardship, Hashem is here. And we want that shining countenance. We want to be able to see that all the time. Amir to Hashem, we're going to get there. There is going to be a time, we don't know when, where it will be so clear, where we'll see Hashem's face. It's going to be so clear. Everything that was so terrible that we didn't understand, all of the hardships, all of the turmoil, all of our history, everything will become so incredibly clear, blindingly clear. We'll understand all of it. We will live completely in harmony with each other, with the world, just wanting to do Hashem's will. That time will come. It will happen. We don't know when. And until then, it continues to be dark, and Hashem continues to hide his face for the most part, We want to see that shining countenance. We wait, we yearn for the time that we just know it, that we feel it, that Hashem is always here, even though he is always here. But a time that there's no more struggle, there's no more hardship, there's no more challenge. We yearn for that. And we know that the secret is the way that we get there, and however long it's going to take, but the way that we get there is when we make the decision to love each other, to think of the needs of another person before our own needs. That's all it takes. That's the famous Medrash, the story about the two brothers and the location of the Beis HaMikdash, right? The story that a lot of us grew up with. Where there was one brother who lived on one side of the mountain and another brother lived on another side of the mountain. And the brother on one side of the mountain had a large family and many children and many mouths to feed. And it did not come easy to feed those mouths. It was a struggle for him. And on the other side of the hill was his brother who was not married, and he lived completely alone. And he had a lot of money because of that. He had no mouths to feed, nobody to take care of. And each brother could have been sitting on his side of the hill, as we so often do, and be focused on, woe is me. Woe is me. Look at my life. I have all these mouths to feed. I have hardly enough food to go around. What am I going to do? What a terrible life I have. Or the other brother, woe is me. I'm all alone. Where is my zivug? Where is my other half? Why is my life so terrible? Why do I have to live all alone and live this lonely existence? And both of them on either side of the mountain could have justifiably been so caught up in their own pain and their own sorrows. And that is pain. It's pain to live alone. It's pain to have a large family that you can't, there's not enough food to go around.
I don't know how to mute it. It's live.
But they weren't caught up in their own pain. What were they thinking about? The one that had all the children and so many mouths to feed, and it was so hard to feed them, all he could think about was his poor, lonely brother on the other side of the mountain who lives all alone, has no extra hands, has no people to help him with all of his work in his field. And oh my goodness, how can I make his load lighter? And the lonely brother on the other side of the mountain, all he could think about was, oh, my poor brother with all those children and all those mouths to feed. And life is so hard for him. And look at me. I have it easy. I only have to take care of myself. I have all of this wealth. And they were both thinking of each other. And the brother with all of the wheat decided, you know what? I want to make my brother's life a little bit easier. So I am going to go in the middle of the night when nobody knows about it. Nobody knows. I'm going to do it quietly. I'm not taking out an ad in the newspaper. Look what I'm doing. I'm not posting on social media. Look what I'm doing. Everybody look at me. I'm going to do it quietly. And in the middle of the night when nobody knows, I'm going to take a bundle of wheat and I'm going to bring it and put it quietly in his field and let me try to make his load a little bit lighter. And the single brother thought to himself, my poor brother on the other side, with all of these mouths to feed, and his life is so difficult, I'm going to try to make his load lighter. I am going to bring a bundle of wheat in the middle of the night. Nobody has to know. And I'll try to take care of him and make his load lighter. And night after night, they did this and they crossed paths and they would wake up in the morning and they had the exact same number of bundles of wheat as they did the night before. And it was a mystery. Until, of course, that fateful night when they met at the top of the hill and they realized what was going on. And they dropped their wheat and they locked in an embrace. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu looked and he said, this is the place that I want to build my mikdash. This is where I'm going to put my home. This is where I want to be. I am not leaving these people. These are people that think about each other. I'm sorry.
You're expressing what we're all feeling. Thank you.
And we have to keep it up. And that's what we have to do. And it's an avoda does not come easily because we are humans. And in a time of struggle, in a time of hardship, we see it in our own families personally. Chas v'shalom, unfortunately, if there's a family, it's Sarah and a family, it does bring families together. And it has brought us together. But it has to continue, even when we're not in a time of tzara, even when there isn't terrible things, when there aren't terrible things happening, it has to continue. And that is the secret. That is the time, that's the place where Hashem wants to be. When I can stop thinking about all of the nitty-gritty things that bog me down, and we all have things. Everybody struggles, and everybody thinks, oh, nobody else struggles, it's only me. Every single human being struggles. We were put in this world to struggle. That is the bottom line. That's why Hashem put us here, because we need to struggle. It's a challenge and we need to grow. Everybody struggles. But instead of being caught up in my own personal struggles, if I can stop even for 1 minute every day and think about somebody else and their struggles and what do they need and what can I do for them? And sometimes it's even the people in our four walls. How often are we jumping to do this chesed or that chesed and do for other people? And we have people, Hashem gave me people that I am directly responsible for, and I need to put their needs and my relationship with them above everybody else. So before I run out to help this one or that one, that's also the Yetzer Hara sometimes. Right? We feel like, oh my goodness, there's so much struggle. There are so many people that are suffering. I have to go and I have to do. And look at me. I'm a chesed queen. I'm out there helping everybody else. And then what about the people that are in my house? I need to be making sure that I'm prioritizing them, thinking about their needs, what they really, really need. Not what I need from them, but what they really need. And Amirat Hashem, we should all be able to just take these muscles that we've been exercising, this truth that has been exposed to the world, that we're all part of the same family, that we all feel for each other in such a deep way. We should be able to continue feeling that for each other in good times, not only in bad times. And Amirat Hashem, that should lead to the ultimate geula. It should happen quickly in our days in an easy way, b'shalom. Thank you so much, everybody.
Rivky, that was so beautiful. That was so heartfelt and so beautiful. Thank you so much. That was gorgeous.
It's nice to meet you over Zoom.
Yeah, you too. We got to hang out.
Hope to meet you in person.
Beautiful. Thank you so much.
Thank
Gorgeous.
You,
Thank you, Rivky. Thank you so much. You too. Thank you. Wow.
Thank you, Rivky.
Yes,
Okay,
thank you.
everyone.
Beautiful. Thank you so